There are several reasons why the Porsche 996 is the least desirable 911, including the headlights, the interior, the shared components, and the IMS bearing, with its tendency to fail causing catastrophic engine failure. But the most important reason is also why many Porsche fans proclaim that Porsche had lost its soul, and that was the monumental move from air-cooled to water-cooled engine design. But with so much pushback, why did the 996 become the foundation that endures today with the latest generation 992? And how did it save Porsche from financial ruin? To understand what exactly were Porsche's motivations for such a bold redesign and what it meant for the company going forward, you have to start with the 993. By the mid-1990s, it was obvious that the air-cooled boxer engine of the 911 had reached the end of the power curve. There was no way of making further progress in terms of emissions and fuel efficiency. Its engine capacity had reached the 3.8-liter mark with the Carrera RS, and there was no meat left on the engine. What's more, the global sales of the 911 were dropping, and Porsche was losing money on each vehicle due to its handcrafted, precision manufacturing. The company was at a crossroads, and it was apparent that change was needed in order to avoid bankruptcy, or being bought out by Toyota or Mercedes. Designer Pinky Lai, who was responsible for the official 996 redesign and the fried egg headlights, had this to say about the mood within Porsche Auto Group at the time. "We were facing the really huge change of moving from air-cooled to water-cooled. That is really a huge revolution, more than the optical change in a way. There really was no way to get out of the argument. You had to follow the power curve. It was the end of the power curve for air-cooled." At the official announcement meeting, they were putting up the projection of the BMW engine development for the next 5 years, and Audi and Mercedes. And they were showing a really uphill curve for the power output. And then they showed our projection for the 911 air-cooled, sort of flattening out the curve for power output. So all of the very vocal diehard 911 guys had to quiet down and go along with the water-cooled design. We really didn't have any other choice. In 1990, Porsche drew up a memorandum of understanding with Toyota to learn and benefit from Japanese lean manufacturing methods, and moved forward with a plan that included multiple product lines with shared components to decrease manufacturing costs and increase sales. And it all centered around the 911 redesign. According to Randy Leffingwell, historian and Porsche expert, the move was overdue. The step from 993 air cooling to 996 water cooling was gigantic. In fact, some in engineering wanted the 993 to be water-cooled, but they didn't have the budget and they didn't have the time. There was enough internal political drama going on in those days that they couldn't create a body from 964 to 993 and water-cool it. With the 993, the new car was to be agile. With the 996, the new car was to broaden its appeal in the market. It was to be water-cooled to meet world noise and emission standards. It was to be a more civilized 911, and the step was enormous. Where the technology ended for the air-cooled engine, the new water-cooled design was just the beginning of further performance capabilities. The air-cooled engines required forced air to extract more horsepower. The new water-cooled engines could be reworked to extract large amounts of additional power without the need for turbocharging, as with the GT3 and GT3 RS. Water-cooled allowed for a smaller displacement with more horsepower. The new M96 motor yielded less moving parts, and in the end would require less maintenance. Radiators were needed, and those were placed behind the headlights, while pipes ran the length of the car. Water jackets now cooled new double overhead camshafts with 4 valves per cylinder. Porsche GT driver and rally champion Walter Röhrl had this to say of the move: "I was closely involved in its development. The only question I cared about was, is there a 911 which will take me around the Nordschleife even faster? No question about it, the 996 was instantly faster. That's why I was so enthusiastic. The 996 was a step forward in terms of performance, higher torque, more fuel efficiency, and that was a vital step. Thanks to its 4-valve cylinder heads, it achieved 300 horsepower and broke new ground in terms of reduced emissions, noise, and fuel consumption. The exterior design was a reinterpretation of the 911's classic line, but with a lower drag coefficient of 0.30. The lines of the 996 were also a result of component sharing with Porsche's successful Boxster model. Its most obvious exterior feature were the headlights with integrated turn signals, at first controversial, but later copied by many other manufacturers. On the inside, drivers experienced an entirely new cockpit. Driving comfort now also played a greater role alongside the typical sporty characteristics. With the 996, Porsche launched an unprecedented product offensive with a whole series of new variations. The 911 GT3 became one of the highlights of the model range in 1999, keeping the tradition of the Carrera RS alive. The 911 GT2, the first car equipped with ceramic brakes as standard, was marketed as an extreme sports vehicle starting in the fall of 2000. The 911 GT1, despite being slower than the Toyota or the Mercedes, fulfilled Porsche's slim hopes at Le Mans in 1998, taking both first and second place overall thanks to reliability, giving Porsche its record-breaking 16th overall win, more than any other manufacturer in history. In the end, Porsche fought off acquisition and was able to reposition itself as a global automotive success story. The company that exists today is a direct result of the necessary moves it made with a pivotal 996.